and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my February reading wrap up. So I only read 5 books in February, which it was just not a good reading month for me. I was just in a slump, and part of that was the very first book I read put me in a slump. Disregard my dog making noises. I had to let him in here and he's rolling around like a freak, but it just took me a really long time to get through the first book that I read this month, and that really put me back. And it was my post HoFast reading slump. So the first book that I read this month, I actually don't have the copy of it anymore because I checked it out from my library, but it was Hurricane Wars. And I saw a lot of hype about this book on TikTok, which is why I picked it up. I got like 100 pages into it, and someone actually on my Bookstagram said they were really worried after reading good reviews about whether or not they would like it, and to let them know. And I was like, that's odd, let me go check Goodreads. And so I did, and that's when I realized it was based off a Reylo fanfiction. And once I saw that in my head, I couldn't get it out of my head, and then everything was just Star Wars in a way that it was not fun. I think some people would like this. So basically it is a fantasy where we're following our main character Taliesin, who is a light weaver, and she's like the only light weaver left. They are in the Hurricane Wars against the Night Empire, which they're like shadow servers. And they control shadows, and they're trying to take over the continent. And so she is fighting for the rebellion. Turns out she's a long lost princess, and it kind of goes from there. I will say it felt like things happened, but at the same time nothing happened. Like, it felt like almost the entire plot of the book, I was like, what was the point of this? Like, nothing happened the entire time. I ended up giving it 3 stars because I do think that if I had not known it was Reylo fanfiction, I might have liked it better. The dialogue and like everything got better towards the very end of the book, but not enough that I think I will read the next one. I know some people have loved it. I just don't think it was for me. I couldn't get past the Reylo fanfiction stuff. So I didn't really enjoy it, and it took me a really long time to get through. Like, I started it February 1st, and it took me 13 days to get through that. That was 2 weeks, just about 2 weeks to read that one book, and I normally don't operate that way. So I just didn't love it. The next book that I picked up was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I knew I wanted a really quick one before me and my friend got into our read of Lady in Midnight. So this is Ali Hazelwood's first paranormal romance. Our main character, Misery, is a vampire, and our main male character, Lo, is a werewolf, and they are planned to get married without ever seeing each other. So they get married to each other. The politics of this city were very stressful and scary. Also, the trash can is outside, trash can guy, so that's what that sound is. Anyways, but the only reason Misery agreed to this marriage is because she is trying to get answers on where her human best friend went. Her human best friend disappeared. She doesn't want to be a vampire. Like, she doesn't like the vampires. She's been living as a human, and when she sees there is a connection to Lo, she agrees to the marriage. So it's not only their romance, it's also her trying to find out what happened to her best friend. I really loved this. I thought Misery was fun, but actually my favorite character in the whole thing was Lo's little sister, Anna, I think it was. She was hilarious. I loved her so much. All of her interactions. She was probably the best character in this book. I was a little towards the end because, I mean, I guess people who read Omegaverse like understood what was gonna happen. I did not, and I was not really sure how I felt about that. So that was very interesting and enlightening to me, but not sure if I'm here for it. Anyways, I did give this book 4 stars. I still thought it was fun. I think I read it in like 2 days. I literally like stayed up one night reading it because it was a fun time. I enjoyed it, and I will read anything Ali Hazelwood writes because I am an Ali Hazelwood stan. Next book I read was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. This is set 5 years after the Mortal Instruments, so after Jason Clary and all of them. The main character, Emma, is a Carstairs, and her parabatai is a Blackthorn. They are both mentioned at the end, and they're slightly in the last book of the Mortal Instruments. So I kind of knew them, but at the same time they were brand new characters, so it took me a little bit to get started in this. By the end of it, I was like, what is happening? Oh my goodness. Cassandra Clare really knows what she's doing, and I think that her writing is just getting better with each series, because like once you get into the second half of the Mortal Instruments, it's better. The Infernal Devices, in my opinion, is the best series. Granted, I haven't read The Last Hours yet, so it could change with The Last Hours, but Tessa, Will, and Jem, you'll never get better characters than that, to me, in the Shadowhunter world, and every time they're even slightly mentioned, I freak out. So I did really enjoy this book. She really knows how to shock you and then later hurt you, which I'll get into with Lord of Shadows. But this is the first one. A lot of this is based on the fact that our main character, Emma, her parents were killed during the Dark War, and she wants to prove that her parents were not murdered by Sebastian Morgenstern, and then things start happening related to her parents' death, and she's trying to prove that he didn't kill them and like find answers for her parents' death. So that's what a lot of this is following, and then obviously it gets crazy. This series is fun too, because this series does a lot with fairy and like the Seelie and Unseelie court, which is something I thought was interesting, especially because one of the brothers and sisters are half fae, and so I really enjoy that this is focusing a lot more on fairy. I gave this one 4 stars, mainly because of the ending. It was just giving. So I really enjoyed Lady Midnight as well. Then I started Lord of Shadows, but I finished another book first because I realized literally on Tuesday that I had a book report due on Thursday that I thought was due in like 3 weeks on a book for one of my classes. So this book I did read for school, but we're still going to talk about it, and that is Invisible Women: Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. So this is a non-fiction. I'm taking a data bias class right now for grad school, and we had to pick a book about data bias to read and write a book report on. And so I picked this one because it is about gender bias, and I found it very interesting. Essentially, she goes through different sections within the book, and in each section she discusses like the bias within that. So we have like public life, the workplace, government, and healthcare. And some of the statistics were actually kind of scary. Like there's one about how there's no real data testing women with car crashes, which is why women are more likely to die in a car accident, because most test dummies are used with dimensions of a normal man. Women are normally smaller. Pregnant women is a whole other issue, and they don't test them, so they don't do the data on it beforehand, which is why women are more likely to die in a car accident. And then there was other things as well, just discussing like how when we're testing drugs, there's a lot of drug trials that are predominantly male, and so then the drug doesn't work the same for a woman because our hormones are different, and because there is no data on how the women would react to the medication. So it's like everything is just built around men. But it was very interesting. I gave it 4 stars just because I felt like there was a lot in here that I was just like, wow, I really don't think about this often. So yeah, I'm 2 pages into my book report right now, and I have another 2 to go, but it's not due till Thursday, and it's Friday right now, so I have like a week, so I'm not worried, because I'm going to start another book today. But I did give it 4 stars. It was a very interesting read. I never read nonfiction, so this actually checked off the box for me for my nonfiction of the year. And then I finished it all off with Lord of Shadows. I finished it at like 10 o'clock last night because I was like, I'm fitting this into February. This is book 2 in the Dark Artifices, and this really focuses on fairy. Like majority of this book is dealing with like the Seelie Queen, the Unseelie King, and like being in fairy, all that kind of stuff, on top of like the things that happened at the end of Lady Midnight, and dealing with those. Oh my goodness. So I did do a reading vlog that will be up in a couple of days. It's gonna go up, today is Friday, it's gonna go up Thursday next week. So you can watch that if you want. It doesn't have spoilers. All the things that I do talk about are not really spoilers. Maybe minor spoilers, but not really. So if you want to see my reaction, you can. But let me tell you, I was crying by the end of this book. Okay, Cassandra Clare knows how to break my heart, and she did. And so now I'm terrified for Queen of Air and Darkness because I'm just scared of where the story is going to go. I'm just scared. I'm scared for everyone, and I don't want people to die. So, yeah, this is just a continuation of the Dark Artifices series, and I am so glad to finally be back in my Cassandra Clare era. But I gave this 4 stars as well. Parts of the book, the first half of the book, I was like, this is like okay. And I think maybe that it also has to do with the fact that I paused in the middle of it to do Invisible Women for class. So I didn't really immerse myself in the story as much because I had to come out of it. But I did give it 4 stars. I did still really like it. I feel like Queen of Air and Darkness might end up being a 5-star read. But I have to wait on my friend to catch up. He's starting this book tonight. We're reading them together, and he's rereading the first 2. And then he hasn't read Queen of Air and Darkness, so we're going to pick up on that together. So in between, I think I'm going to start Into the Dark today. But yeah, those are the books that I read in February. I'm hoping to have a better reading month in March, but my classwork is picking up significantly. I have a lot of stuff due in March. I'm basically done after April. Graduation is May the 3rd, so the next 2 months may not be a lot of reading, but then I'm going to get back to being able to read a lot once I'm done with grad school. So I'm really excited about that. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.